Hey, everybody, welcome to the Former Athlete Society. As always, I am your host, Adam Ringler. And one of the hardest things about being a former athlete isn't the end of your competition season, it isn't the end of your career, it's the end of structure. So when we stop playing, we don't stop being competitors. That is part of our spirit, that's a part of who we are. And it is the reason you're watching this video right now, right? We don't just lose the scoreboard, right? That told us whether or not we were improving or if we were getting worse, if we're winning, if we're losing. What we end up doing, we lose the accountability, the schedule, the coaches, right? All of that, your teammates, they disappear overnight. And suddenly we're left trying to figure out how to keep that same drive alive in the middle of real life, jobs, relationships, families, everything else that competes for our time. Now, this is what these accountability calls are all about. They're about bringing back that same structure that you're used to. Not the same way that we had it during your locker room, but through systems that fit our lives now, systems that help us perform, stay consistent, and keep chasing better, even if there is no championship on the line. So today, we are tackling 5 new topics, brand new topics, and they're all connected around one central idea. How do we build better habits, better performance routines, and stronger discipline when nobody's watching? And we're not talking theory here, right? We're actually talking real world stuff. This isn't about what works in fantasy land. It's about the real world. What's practical, what you can actually do to stay sharp, healthy, and grounded during your career and your life. So let's start with something we all know and we all probably feel, and that's pressure. Because it doesn't go away when you're playing days in, it just sort of changes shape. Now, if you are new to these calls, welcome. My name is Adam Ringler. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I've been one for nearly 20 years at this rate. And my job is to take all of the lessons I've learned throughout my entire coaching career and provide it to you in a simple way, an easy way that you can digest and take those lessons and apply it to your life. So, like we said at the intro, topic number one, right? And this is all about performance today, performance pressure. And it's borrowing routines that you can apply during your normal day. So everyone thinks that pressure just disappears after we stop playing, but it doesn't. It just shows up wearing a different uniform. We've all felt that feeling before a big game. The nerves, noises, the butterflies, right? I know I felt those before wrestling matches in my collegiate days. Back then, we knew exactly how to handle it. We had warm ups, we had game plans, we had rituals, we had teammates and coaches to all keep us centered. But now, the stakes they feel different, right? The pressure comes from deadlines, finances, relationships, or just the weight of our own expectations that we put on ourselves. Now, the truth is, pressure has never left us. We just stopped preparing for it, right? In the same way that we would prepare for sport. What if we treated our mornings the same way we treated pregame routines? What if we built short, consistent process that primed us to perform? Not in games, but actually in real life for that business meeting you might have. It could be as simple as a 3 step ritual. And this is what I recommend: movement, breath, and mindset. That simple. Maybe it's a short workout, a cold shower, 5 minutes of breathing, or some journaling before we touch our phones in the morning. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It just has to be repeatable. Because in performance, in any environment, it starts before the moment is actually required, right? The best part, this approach rewires our nervous system to perform under pressure again. When we introduce or reintroduce structure, the same intentional warm ups that we use before competition, let's just say, we teach our brains to associate stress with preparation, not panic. So we stop reacting and we start actually responding. And over time, that builds confidence, consistency, and ultimately control. The same ingredients that made us great when we were athletes, we can apply those principles as professionals. So if you've been feeling maybe scattered, anxious, unmotivated, you have to ask yourself this: what is your pregame right now? You don't need a locker room, you don't need a scoreboard to perform. You just need a plan, a ritual that reminds you of who you are and the standard that you hold yourself to. Great. Love this. I do want to pause right here, do a couple different things for us. And number one, if you have yet, as simple as going over to the YouTube, liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to our videos, that would go a long way in our algorithm, right? It allows for us to grow this channel, get it out in front of more eyeballs, and actually affect other real world former athletes, a part of the Former Athlete Society. So do me that one favor, hit the notification bell so you get first access to all these videos. We drop brand new videos every single week. I want to make sure that you have access to them. Let's go ahead and move on to our next principle I want to discuss today, because I think this one is a really powerful one. Most of us don't lose because of talent or effort. We lose because we waste energy on things we can't control. So, when we were competing, that phrase, control the controllables, right? We threw it around constantly, but it actually meant something deeper than just staying calm. It was about power, the power to focus your efforts only where it really matters, the power to lead by example, especially when everything around you feels like chaos and uncertainty. The athletes and teams who master that before they actually go out and compete, they perform better. They recovered faster. They adapted quicker. They led stronger. And as former athletes, that same principle applies now more than ever. Life throws 1,000 uncontrollables at us every single day. Our lives can be absolutely crazy. But here's the truth: we can't outtrain chaos, but we can maybe focus on the systems that allow us to better contain it and manage that. What we can do also is tighten our circle of control. Things like sleep, nutrition, training, attitude, effort, how we treat other people, things so simple as that. That's it. When we double down on those controllables, everything starts to quiet down a little bit. So think about it like this: our emotional energy, it's a finite resource. Every minute spent complaining or comparing or stressing over something other than what we're chasing is energy stolen from something that we can improve. So when we start filtering decisions through one question, is this something I can control? Life gets so simple. Performance gets sharper, and leadership actually, yeah, it gets sharper and becomes more clear. If we want to lead others, whether it's our families or teams at work or just ourselves, it starts with this mindset, because people follow calm. They follow consistency. They follow those who stay steady when everybody else is losing it. And I've seen this all of my coaching career. And what's sort of the controllables really means is simply just staying grounded in what we can do today, not what we wish we could change. So, love this idea from a performance topic. I think it's something so applicable to our world as professionals. But if you are joining us right now and you're watching this on, maybe you're watching this on YouTube right now, again, subscribe to this channel. We're trying to grow this to be something really awesome, a resource for our former athletes. I really think you'd love subscribing to what we've been building, because we've been really pouring in a lot of resources and investment and time and energy into this YouTube channel. So take a quick moment, certainly do that. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already, so you get access to all of these videos, because I really think you're going to like what you see and what you listen to and the content that we're sharing here. Let's go ahead and move on to our new topic here. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. And this is about productivity, because everybody talks about productivity hacks, but almost nobody talks about the one that matters the most. That's recovery. So as athletes, we were taught to push, to grind, to max out, to go all out, to leave nothing left in the tank. But we were also taught to maybe respect recovery, have deload weeks, to use active recovery, nutrition, sleep, cold tubs, massage. We understood the cycle of stress and adaptation. But somewhere along the way, as we've left sport or we exhausted all of our eligibility, we forgot that. Those lessons somewhere, they got lost. We replaced our structured training with constant output, work, social media, meetings, right? Errands. And then we sort of sat around and we wondered, hey, why do I feel fried all of the time? Guys, this is it. This is the reason why. And that's why we need to bring back what I call the recovery block. It's the same concept as a deload week, just applied to your schedule. And it's a planned window every single day. So maybe it's 30 minutes, maybe it's 2 hours, where recovery is non negotiable. No phone, no multitasking, no guilt, right? Maybe it's a nap, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's cooking a meal without distraction, right? All of these things. The point isn't what you do, it's that you do it with intentionality. So here's the science behind this, right? The brain can only stay in that high cognitive task and demands for so long before performance just simply drops. It's like a muscle when it fatigues. Mental fatigue is real. And most of us live in a constant, overtrained state of mental fatigue. That recovery block resets your baseline, teaches your body to relax, and your brain to refocus. Now, that's not laziness. I call that strategy, right? Because recovery isn't the absence of effort, it's the preparation for the next effort. So we used to think that taking a day off meant losing ground. Now we know it's how we sustain progress. If we schedule recovery like we schedule training with discipline and consistency, we'll perform better in almost every area of our life. But the irony is this, that the more intentional we get about rest, the more productive we actually really become. So, great topic, something to lean into as far as giving yourself permission to have that recovery block because your body will thank you. Now, I get this comment all the time from every single video, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's I share it on Instagram, whether it's a IG reel, a YouTube short, and it is, Adam, how do I get involved in the Former Athlete Society? Well, this is the easiest way. This is my website. It's adamringler.com right there in the middle of the screen. You can head over there and sign up for a forever free blueprint access, right? And the blueprint is just me providing you the blueprint, all of the lessons for free for you forever. Now, if you want to level up a little bit, you can join us in the Former Athlete Society. Again, right there on the middle of the screen, adamringler.com. You can jump over to the Former Athlete Society. It's a paid tier, but you get one-on-one access to me. You get complimentary training programs delivered through Bridge Athletic, my strength and conditioning platform, where I share all of our sets and reps and exercises so that you can rebuild the body that you once had during your college days. You get our accountability calls, you get our question and answers. All of your questions and all of your content gets prioritized in these calls, whether it's our accountability or our Q&A. So if you want that, if that sounds something like something that you would love, then simply put, head over to that website right there one more time, adamringler.com, sign up today. Let's move on to our new topic. This one's cool. Ever notice how your best weeks feel like game weeks? That's not by accident. That's called structure. One thing that we used to take for granted as athletes was that someone else planned our week for us. Practice times, lifting times, recovery days, team meetings. Everything was structured out. And because it was structured, we thrived inside that environment. And when you take away that schedule, you don't just lose time management, you end up losing rhythm, you lose tempo. And that's why so many of us ultimately feel off, even when we're all working hard. Because oftentimes we're missing the invisible scaffolding that keeps us all balanced. And that's where, again, I've talked about this before, the Sunday reset comes in. So think of it as like your new pregame meeting for the week. It's the time that you sit down, just like a coach would, breaking out film or breaking down film, the highlight reel, the highs, the lows, and you map out your training, you map out your meals, your sleep targets, and your key life priorities. And you can keep it simple, 30 minutes every single Sunday. You do that, I'm telling you, things get better, things get more organized for your day. It's about reviewing the week that just happened and then designing the next one that's ahead of you. Where did you overreach? Where did you drift? Where can you tighten up the plan? Because when we do this consistently enough, we stop living reactively. We can actually start living deliberately. The Sunday reset is oftentimes the anchor. It's what transforms, I'll see what happens, into here's how I'm building towards my goal. Because that's the truth. Success doesn't come from big, heroic efforts. It comes from stacking boring, predictable, structured week after week days. And this is exactly how us as performance coaches, yeah, this is how we think. We don't leave adaptation to chance. We plan it, we analyze it, we create rhythm between stress and recovery, load and deload, work and reflection. And that same mindset works in your personal life. If you can plan your week the way that you used to plan a training block, everything else, your health, your energy, your focus, begins to align naturally. So, my recommendation, here's a simple framework that you can follow: review, refine, reset. I'll repeat it one more time so you don't got to rewind. Review, refine, reset. Review what worked last week, refine what needs adjustment, and reset your plan for the next 7 days. It's not the most attractive thing, right? You're not going to read it on websites. It's not going to be the next sort of cliche buzzword or anything like that. But neither was film study. And yet, that's where real wins are built. So, if you've joined me long enough here, there's a couple other things I'm going to ask you to do. Number one, I'd love to start with this. This is my Instagram handle, right? I would love to have you head over there, give me a follow, maybe shoot me a DM. I try to share all of the behind the scenes of a strength and conditioning coach right here on my Instagram. I think you're going to take a lot away from there. I also post up our newsletters, I post up live video calls on our broadcast channel called The Blueprint. So you can join that broadcast channel as well. I think you're going to get a lot from that. Now, if you have yet to do it, while you're there, how about you just give me a follow, right? Adam Ringler, super easy. This is my number one way of pushing out content to your eyeballs. So give me a follow on that. I think you'll take a lot away from there. And then lastly, and this will be ultimately the last thing I say, I was looking at the analytics. I know we can improve on our analytics. I know we can have a couple more subscribers. So if you've yet to do it, please one more time, last bid here. Like, subscribe to this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you get first dibs to this. Let's move on to our final topic today on this accountability call. We're about 18 minutes in. Most people I know, they chase more weight on the bar. But if you've stopped improving, it's probably not the load, it's your intent. When we talk about training, we often default to one variable: volume. How much are we lifting? How many sets? How many reps? How heavy was it? But here's something that most lifters, they miss. Intensity isn't about just the weight on the bar. It's about the intent of the movement. And that's where sometimes velocity can comes in. So, velocity tells us how much intent are we putting into every single rep. It's how fast we can move a given load, and it's the truest indicator of neuromuscular output. You can't fake bar speed. When your intent is high, the central nervous system fires faster, the coordination is sharper, the body recruits more motor units. That is performance. So, why does this matter for many of us former athletes? Because once competition ends, most people start training without any intent. They load up the bar, they lift, sure, they check the box, and they leave the gym. But the why behind each rep, it disappears. And over time, they stop progressing. Not because they're lazy. No, absolutely not. Because they're training without intent. So, load intent pairing is the fix, or velocity based training. It's about matching the right weight with the right focus. So for heavy compound lifts, that might mean that moving the bar as explosively as possible, even if the bar speeds look slow, and they will, right? The effort to move it stays high. And now for accessory work, it might mean slowing things down intentionally, keeping constant tension, chasing control, precision, connection, mind muscle connection to that area. This is what separates training from exercise. See, exercise burns calories, but training builds capacity. And if we treat every rep as a test of intent, not just strength, we reintroduce performance standards back into our lifts. We don't just move weight, we move with purpose. And that's where longevity comes from. You can't train like you're 20 years old forever, but you can train with intent forever. And velocity gives you that feedback without ego. It's honest. It tells you when you're sharp, when you're fatigued, and when it's time to back off. And so when you start listening to that feedback and progress becomes more sustainable again, that's where real progress comes. So the next time that you're in the gym, you have to ask yourself, are you lifting the weight or are you attacking the weight? Because those two mindsets produce entirely different results. So I think we wrap up this video. That was 5 different new accountability topics that we've talked about, right? And they all have something in common. They bring structure back to our lives in a way that maybe fits where we are now as working professionals. That pressure for us hasn't gone away. It's just changed form a little bit. The controllables are still the same: effort, attitude, preparation, intent. And our bodies still crave the rhythm and the recovery and a clear direction to follow. And if we're not trying to relive the past, sure, no, we're not doing that. We're trying to carry the best parts of our competitive lives forwards, right? The habits, the systems, the standards, and use them to prepare at a high level in every area of our lives now. And that is precisely the mission of the Former Athlete Society: to take the lessons that we've learned from sport, whether it's our discipline, our preparation, our focus, our accountability, and reapply them to the rest of our life. Because we're still athletes. We just compete in a different arena now. I appreciate every single one of you that are watching these videos, whether you watch them live or you watch them on YouTube or you watch them on Instagram Reels, doesn't really matter to me. Again, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. And until next video, stay strong, stay healthy, and keep attacking. Keep attacking.